And when we talk about skilled volunteering these days, it's almost synonymous with the impact that's been talked about for a long time of potential boomers retiring, bringing all these skills in. And I think what's interesting about what's happening right now in the volunteer industry in the U.S. is you have the recession, you've got laid off workers, you've got the need to develop professional skills and become more professional. At the same time, you've got all these boomers preparing to retire, or in some cases reconsidering retirement. As we're looking at that trend, the boomer trend that's been talked about for a long time, how is that changing in light of the recession as we want to talk about portfolio shrinkage and people not being able to retire as quickly as they'd like? Have we reached a tipping point there?
Don't think we've quite reached the tipping point, but I think we're getting close. I've always been of the school that doesn't believe the baby boomers are going to come banging on our doors begging to volunteer. I think there are three types of baby boomers. The first are the ones that I call the consumers. They're the ones who have been out there, what I call skiing, spending the kids' inheritance, travelling around to the US and Winnebagos, camping, going to Europe. They've taken a hit with their portfolios, and some of them are rethinking work, going back to work. The second group have never been able to afford to retire, and that situation hasn't changed for them. They don't own a house, so they haven't lost a house in the recession, but they're still paying rent. They haven't got any investments. They haven't got health insurance. They're facing a fairly bleak future, and I don't think that situation's changed for that group of baby boomers. The third group that seem to have a lot more pressure on them at the moment is what I call the sandwich generation, and they're the ones who are caring for their parents, who are living longer thanks to our lifestyle and medicine, but also have primary or significant responsibility for grandkids. That is accelerating. As a lot more of their own kids are having pressure around work and having to look for work or move out to another town to get work, a lot of these people are having to take on more responsibility for the grandkids. And he says to people, would you like to volunteer for us? And they say, I'm already running the kids to school, I'm working myself, and I'm looking after my parents. You want me to volunteer for you?
Sure.
So that's an issue for them. I think the baby boomers are hearing the message about volunteering will help you, volunteering will help our community. I still think that organisations aren't ready for baby boomers. They are a completely different mentality, have a completely different mentality to the previous generation of volunteers. They're looking for as much as they can get out of the volunteering experience, and that's very different to the previous generation, who had a totally different focus around volunteering.
And the focus on giving versus the focus on getting.
Well, it sounds like the baby boomers are more selfish. Maybe they are, but I think it is that the previous generation were much more tolerant about things. So if you didn't have enough furniture, they'd bring their own. If you didn't give them coffee, they'd bring their own. If the coffee was horrible, they'd still drink it. If you didn't say thank you, they wouldn't mind as much. Whereas I think the baby boomers are saying, I want furniture, I want a good job to do, I want coffee and I want to be thanked and I want to get reimbursed. That's a very different sort of mentality. And a lot of these people, as we've said, are more highly skilled. They're actually looking to use their skills, and we need to harness that. And so if these baby boomers sort of flood through our doors, whether they've been laid off or whether they're retired or whether they've been told they should, and we say to them, come in and staple and photocopy, they're going to walk out. Or they'll hang around for a while. So I think we need to be thinking through how do we actually move these groups.
So you haven't seen any papers or research come out recently in the last year, the impact of the recession? Any changes that have been already discussed about that?
Haven't seen any papers or writings yet. I'm seeing people talk about baby boomer projects in terms of how to engage them, but I think it's been too early, and no one's really had any money to put into that research. So I'd love to see someone. I'd love to get some money myself to produce some research.